All right, continuing on. In this video, I'm going to talk about the basic editing you need to know for your first project, the 4 unusual shots, as well as really all of your other projects after this. So I am going to just run through the quick steps again about setting up before we get into the editing. So what I have here on my screen, I have my SD card open and the clips that I want to use for my 4 unusual shots. I have more than I need because I wanted to shoot more than I needed so I can make some choices. And I did rename them before I am going to import them into Premiere. So that's important to make note of. You can't rename them after you have used them in the project because Premiere won't know that they've changed the file name. So if you want them to be called something, your clips to be called something, please make sure you change the name before. So I'm here in my SD card. I'm going to take these, I'm going to copy them out, and I'm going to go to my video art folder, and I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this 4 unusual shots. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to paste them in there. Okay, so I've taken them off my SD card. They're still on my SD card, that's my backup, but when I open up Premiere and I import them, I'm importing them from my computer, not the SD card. All right, so that's done. Now I have Premiere open, and I'm going to go to create a new project. And I'm going to call it 4 unusual shots. And where do I want to save it? I'm going to save it in my video art, and I'm going to save it in that same folder for unusual shots. So inside here, I'm going to have the clips for my project and the Premiere file. As I mentioned in the last video, it's really up to you where you want to save things or your organization, but just make sure that you develop a system that's like consistent so you can remember where you've saved things. Don't just click OK and not like have any idea where you saved it. And everything else I'm going to leave, and I hit OK. And just takes a second. It seems to be super slow on my laptop. Yours is probably already up and running. Mine is not. Okay, now the screens are here. And as I mentioned in the last video, you can import your files by going up to File, Import, or my favorite way is if you're in the editing mode, under the project pane, just double click here. Okay, going to be slow on me. There we go. And it's going to take you to your folders. I'm going to look for my 4 unusual shots folder, and I'm not trying to import my Premiere file. Just also please note like what the icon looks like for Premiere files. So it's kind of this blue purple, has PR, because when you submit your projects to me, you never submit this file. I'm not looking for that one. If I switch this to list view, detail view, yeah, it says over here, Adobe Premiere file. I want something that's going to say MP4. We'll get to that at the end. All right, so I'm going to select all of my clips and hit open, and they're going to show up here in my project pane over here. There they go. And I'll just hover over this gray bar at the top to make it larger. All right, what do we need next? We need to put them onto the timeline. So this is everything we've covered so far. And now let's talk about the editing. It's worth noting that they're all currently selected. So if I just drag one over, I'm going to take them all over, which maybe is fine. But if you wanted to just drag them independently, click in the gray space outside, and that will deselect them, and now you can drag them individually. So I'm going to just drag this one over here. And as soon as I drag it over, this is my timeline, and this is where we build our video sequence. Changes. So it changes, it automatically gives me video tracks and corresponding audio tracks. So I dragged one out, and I'll drag another one, and then this one of the dog, and this reflection one. All right. You may notice over here in your project pane, as soon as you dragged one clip out, another thumbnail clip appears here. This is a preview of everything that's on your timeline. It has a different kind of icon. The others have icons indicating that they're film and audio. So this one has the icon that represents being a sequence. So again, This is what Premiere calls a sequence. The videos on your timeline, the order that you have them, how they're arranged and edited, that's a sequence. So this one clip, it represents everything that's here. So you can't click and drag that and put it out. So you're just going to kind of leave that alone. I will come back and we'll talk about like renaming these in the future and things like that. Okay, so now that you have them here, let's talk about some basic editing techniques and moving things around. So I'll make this smaller. And if you remember, we grab the scrubber up here and we can use that to scrub and we'll see what's on our timeline up here in the monitor. I can scrub either here or here. Let's say I want to move all my clips down the timeline. I'm going to click in the gray space above my video track. This is my video track, so I'm clicking above that and just click and drag over. And now I can click into any one of my video clips and move them down. If you look at the project descriptions, most of them require you to put 2 seconds of black before and after, as well as titles. So you almost never have your first video clip right up at the beginning of the timeline. Up here, you can actually see the time that you're on and over here as well. So how do I figure out what's 2 seconds? I can put my scrubber right at the beginning of my track. And as a review, if I want to zoom in so I can see this better, I can hit plus on my keyboard. And if I want to make it taller, I come over here and I can scroll it up. All right, so I'm just going to make it even larger so we can get little bits of previews. So I've put my scrubber at the beginning, and now I can make note that I am at 26 seconds. All right, so this is the seconds hand right here, 26 seconds. So if I want to have 2 seconds before, that will be black, and I'll go over this. I'm just going to move my scrubber to where it says 24. So that's how we're going to use this. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out, minus. So a couple things I want to point out about moving clips around. When I click on a clip and you do want to be zoomed in, it's really hard to do these things when it's super zoomed out. So plus, zoom in, backspace to sort of centralize everything. When I click on video or audio, they're automatically linked together. So when I move one, the audio moves with it. If I want to switch the order of things, right now, the way that I would recommend doing is kind of like a Rubik's Cube. I'm going to move my video up, my audio down, slide this one over, put this one in place, and then switch everything back over. So the reason that I do that is because if I try to move this clip, let's say I want to swap the positions of these two, if I move this clip right on top of my dog clip, and now I move my dog clip out, my dog clip was actually shortened, and I don't want that. I'm going to do Control Z to undo that. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my video, this video track up, this audio down, slide this one over. This is what I mean about the Rubik's Cube sort of method. Move these guys here, and now bring them down and up. Okay, so take a second and just kind of practice clicking on clips, dragging, moving, zooming in, zooming out, backslash, so on and so forth. So pause this and then come back. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is I want to talk about how you can get fade in and fade out and also trim down your clips. So I asked all the clips I think are supposed to be between 5 and 7. I don't totally remember, but check Blackboard, 5 and 7 seconds. So if you hover over the end of your clip, it gives you information. It tells you your start time, your end time, and the duration. I'm going to hover over my clip, and do you see how my cursor changes? So that's my normal cursor to the editing tool. And if I want to edit to trim this and make it shorter, then I have the red cursor now changes and the arrow is pointing inward. So in other words, pointing to the left. That means when I click and drag, I am going to be shortening this. So I'm just going to click and drag in, and I'm doing what's called trimming the tails. And I could do the same thing at the front, trimming the head, and it shows me the duration as I'm doing this. So if I need to get this down to 7 seconds, I can decide, do I want to trim the beginning or the end or a little bit of both? And make it between 5 and 7, so 6 is perfect. Okay, so hopefully you can see that spot there where it shows you, and it's all completely non-destructive. So I can undo that and I can get it all back, and it'll go back only to its full length. It stops, like I try to drag it out further, but it doesn't go any further, only to its full length. Okay, so take a second, pause, and just practice trimming the heads and tails and then dragging them back out again of your clips. Okay, and lastly here, I want to talk about just creating the fades. So I really need to get mine down to be the right length. I'm just putting them all about 5 seconds, 5 seconds, and 5 seconds. And then I want to check that I have 2 seconds in between. So I put my scrubber here and make note this is 18, and I want to go to 20. Okay, so my scrubber is 2 seconds later. So I'm going to grab my clip and just click it, sort of drag it up to the scrubber, and it kind of snaps. If it doesn't snap, check up here and make sure that the snap in timeline is highlighted blue and it's not like white, because then it doesn't work. So we want that to be blue. So I'll do the same thing over here. I scrub and I go to the end of my clip. I see it's at 25 seconds. I move it down to 27. I'm not caring about the milliseconds, as you can tell. Drag that over. And let's do this last one, 34. Oops. And drag it over to 36. And there we go. Okay, now all we need to do to get the fades is I'm going to select everything, just doing a big like marquee over everything, and I'm going to do Control D or Command D on a Mac. And you can see, I'll zoom in here, what it does is it adds these automatic cross dissolves. So we'll talk about how you can change those, but for right now, the automatic one, which you get with that keyboard shortcut of Control D or Command D, is fade up from black and fade down to black. So I'll just press scrub to the beginning, and you can see here, and it fades down. Okay, so that's what I am looking for. All right, in my next video, I'm going to talk about how you're going to create your regions that will give you the 2 seconds of black before and after, as well as saving your file and exporting it as an MP4.